Okay, there we go. We're live today. Welcome to this week's edition of More Insights and Strategy Hot Desk Podcast. We're on episode 30, Mel, which is fantastic. I'm Robert Kramer, and I'm joined with Melody Brue, my co-host, and we're both VP and Principal Analysts, and I handle ERP and enterprise data. Mel handles modern work and HCM and CX and a few other things. So we got a great show ahead of us. Mel, how are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, we got a lot of exciting things to talk about in lots of different categories. We're kind of all over the place.
Yep.
We got enterprise apps, we got communications, we got UCAS, we got data security. We're all over.
We're all over. So we're going to talk about tools, trends, trajectories, people, marketing technologies, apps, ERP, CRM, the glue that holds it all together, data. But just a quick disclaimer, this show is for information and entertainment purposes. We will discuss publicly traded companies on the show, but its contents should not be taken as investment advice. So I got it right that time. And, it's an exciting week. It's summer, but we're here and we got some great stuff to talk about, like you said. Let's kick it off with yourself and talk a little bit about Zoho.
Yeah, actually, I think we kind of teased this last week because we talked about that Zoho had a couple of new things that were happening, that kind of app analytics that we talked about last week. And so I mentioned Zoho Solo, and Zoho Solo is somewhat new, not brand new, but a new kind of all-in-one toolkit for solopreneurs and small businesses. It's really kind of to simplify business management. So consolidating various functions like client communication, project management, expense tracking, invoicing, but it's all within a single app. So rather than having multiple apps and kind of going all around or using spreadsheets, which is what a lot of people do for these kind of functions, just to kind of streamline workflows. So a couple of years back, Zoho introduced kind of some services for small businesses to get started, like creating their LLCs. And so there was a little bit of a focus kind of on this creating your business, kind of help kind of streamline that process. But since then, it's really been, Zoho has historically concentrated on small and medium businesses. And since then, I feel like they've had, and you can tell me what you think about this from being at Zoholics this year, but there's been a little bit of a bigger emphasis on kind of a bigger enterprise client, medium size enterprise client. So I think this is an interesting strategic move for them to go after kind of the solopreneur and small business with this kind of single application that then can grow into more. So, if these businesses don't grow into more, they've got this application that kind of is a all-in-one solution for them. But if they do grow into more, then they're already Zoho customers. So it could be, really just a move to attract new users who may eventually grow into the platform. So I like.
Good point. Yeah, I think a lot of these solo entrepreneurs are using a lot of manual, types of packages, and it gets a chance to put them all together in one. And then, like you said, to grow within the Zoho community of applications, because of the fact that Zoho does have, those, they have like 55 different types of applications to allow those users to grow with what they, as they grow together. So I think that's a big thing. And then once their data is inside Zoho, they're probably not going to leave. So it gives a chance to represent the smaller businesses, which is somewhat their bread and butter, and then what they're trying to get to, which is more the medium-sized deals or companies to work with Zoho, which is what we saw at Zoholics.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so we also have some news from Oracle as well.
Yes. Yeah, well, we've talked about this a few times that Oracle is really concentrating big on healthcare. And they introduced wait, I lost it. Wait, okay, there it is. I was trying to put it up onto the thing. They introduced the AI-powered clinical digital assistant in the US. So It's designed for kind of the doctor-patient interactions, and I think maybe I don't know if you were in the sessions when we were at the Oracle Analyst event,
Hmm.
but they talked a little bit about this, and they talked about how in some of these clinical environments, the AI performed better in bedside manner when tested against new graduates from medical school. So this, I think, is sort of, you don't want to be like dealing with AI as your doctor, but what this does is it integrates with the Oracle Health electronic records, the EHRs. So the
Hmm.
assistant allows the providers to access all of the patient information. So the AI is kind of doing all the work sort of in the background, generating notes kind of for the purpose of follow-ups during the appointments and everything. So it reduces all of that administrative burden on the physician so that they're able to actually have the communication with the patient. So in one of the demos that I saw, they're able to actually just dictate and do this. So they're not sitting behind a computer while they're interfacing with their patient. And the AI assistant is capturing everything. So, I don't know if you've been to a doctor recently where they're on their computer like this and they're asking you questions and you're over here.
Right.
And of course, they have to, and you want them to have that data and you don't want them to forget, or they're scribbling it down and, just notoriously bad handwriting. I don't know why. I don't know if they train them on bad handwriting, but, whenever you get like a prescription written out, you can never read it. But I read some of the data from, or the sort of the anecdotal stuff from the doctors saying that this is great. It allows them to really concentrate on those patient interactions. So maybe this will allow the AI not to be better at bedside manner than the doctors. So yeah, I think this is just one of many of these types of kind of AI assistants that we'll see that will help for physicians to not let AI be better than them.
I think it's whatever can make the medical field better and more efficient for the patient. So, like when you walk in and then the doctor's on the computer the whole time and doesn't even know why you're there, and it's
Yeah.
he or she's trying to find out, what if AI gave that doctor a chance to have a full dashboard, full medical history, and drugs or trials or types of matching your symptom towards what the remedy is ahead of time, so when they walk in, the diagnosis is quicker, and the time to heal is also there too. I think that for some reason the doctors seem unprepared, and I'm hoping this can prepare them better. I don't know. I'm sure that's not the case across the globe, but
Yeah.
sometimes that's my feeling. What do you think?
Well, I think some of that lack of preparation is just the time between appointments. They're so back to back,
Yeah.
often you're
Yeah.
waiting. So I think things like this Oracle AI assistant will give doctors more time back to spend with
Yeah.
patients, because it's like, here's a quick summary of why this person's here. And then they're also spending, I think it was like 30% less time taking notes after an appointment. So it frees up more time for actual patient care. So I,
Right.
that is a big factor in this, which is giving time for the actual care. All right.
Excellent.
Well, I think the next one is pretty much, well, I'm going to say all you, but I guess I may have an opinion on it. But SAP Rise, we are accelerating transformation process with AI. Let's go for it.
Yeah, some new things have happened. So recently, SAP announced that Joule AI, the Copilot, is going to be embedded throughout their entire platform. Now they're taking it and moving it towards the RISE program to move forward faster, better processes with the features and the capabilities of the transformation. So they've had 25,000 companies that they were looking to move on the RISE program. I think they had 6,000 that actually did this so far. They have quite a bit left, so they've transformed this to implement AI to help with the process, to enhance the experience, to better decisions. The business processes are improved. The financial planning's improved. One of the supplier network to put that together a little bit better with AI. Their hope is to get as many as that 25,000 as they can get. But as we've talked about, we've actually written some articles on SAP. It's going to be hard for some companies that are on-prem to actually go full in the cloud. And some of this is going to be what SAP's job is what they're doing here is to make it easier for them to transform. But what's your thoughts on that?
So this is the combination of Joule and Copilot, Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah. And embedding the AI features within the processes of the migrations of Rise to go from on-prem to cloud. And so that process is quite daunting. And in some cases, I think some approaches for these on-prem clients that want to get the modernization of the ERP, because a lot of these features, specifically the AI features and the ML features and a whole host of other ones are not going to necessarily be available on-prem. So what they're going to be transitioning to at some time is a two-tiered approach, where they'll have some of the main modules on-prem and then some of the secondary modules in the cloud, and they'll run a two-tiered system where they can actually utilize some of these advanced features. But some of those companies, it's a daunting task, as we were talking about. Once you load an ERP with data, to move it to another system is not the easiest thing, depending on what the size of your company is. But it's an ROI, and it's a company decision. But that this new approach was just released, and it should help with the transformations that they're seeking to get.
Awesome.
Okay. So yeah, it's a little technical. In some cases, it's one of those things where SAP is not the only ERP vendor that has these things among them. Oracle has similar, Microsoft has the same ones. So these are just the nature of the beast of ERP and where things are starting to modernize. And I've written a lot of articles on why modernizing ERP is important. And it's one of those things where they're going to feel that being on-prem is not going to suffice for taking advantage of these fantastic features that are available. So, okay, so let's move on from that to RingCentral.
Yeah, so RingCentral and Vodafone have partnered for a long time. They have a partnership in several different countries, but they have teamed up, and this was just announced yesterday, to expand their global communications offering, and they're adding on their contact center solution to the existing suite, which is powered by RingCentral's CX with their AI technology. So they can now any Vodafone customers can now access the RingCentral suite, sort of a one-stop shop for all their communication needs, and add their contact center to the UCaaS solution. So I think that they're operating now in 30 different markets. 30 different markets by 2025. So it's a big deal because it's a lot of different markets really making the solution truly global, but also incorporates the Ring CX, which is that's a big kind of add-on to their contact center solution. So that's it.
Pretty cool.
It's a big one. Yeah. I mean, I think, everybody's looking at contact centers as a really big kind of proof point of AI, and RingSense has gotten awards. They at Enterprise Connect, which is really the big kind of industry event. They were awarded Best in Show or whatever the big award is for the Ring CX. So as everybody's kind of looking towards contact center solutions and AI being kind of a place where it's truly operationalized already, because, between chatbots and summarization and everything, somewhere where it's actually being used. It's not just sort of this concept, and it's within the product. It's not a thing that's on the side. where you see a lot of AI use right now. It's on the side, and you can use it to ask questions. You can use it to query
Hmm.
information. But with RingCX and with many other contact center solutions, it's embedded within the solution. So it's, I think a lot of eyes are on contact center and UCaaS in general for actual use of AI. So I think this is, an interesting expansion of their partnership, but also just kind of another proof point of RingCX and the usage.
Well, that's important that you said that because it's at the ground up. It was built in, so then it has access to probably deeper into the data elements
Mhm.
to get better answers, right?
Right.
Those chat boxes are more successful when it's embedded, like you just said at the bottom, where it has the best access and more than normal. So that's a really interesting point.
And
So,
so many of these contact center solutions are getting smarter and smarter. Like like Cisco has a solution where it's actually self-teaching. It's learning as it's going. And so as agents type in, the solution and the resolution and how the interaction was resolved, the AI is learning from those resolutions. And so then when the next customer calls in, it's now embedded into the AI, that solution. It doesn't have to go and like be reprogrammed and retrained in the model. So it's very the contact center solutions I think are really fascinating.
and now even more. So,
Other people are probably like, is it really that fascinating? But uh, I think it is. All right.
I think
Maybe
so
this
too.
is
All right.
something that's like really big. It's been in the news. It's been it's a huge kind of topic. Google is talking about an acquisition um,
Yep.
of Wiz.
There's so much going on in the security field that I feel like it's not talked about a lot. And Google is looking to make an acquisition. I want to just back up just a second. There seems to be a lot of security breaches lately, and not necessarily just in the last couple of years, but specifically even this year. So United Healthcare, this company called CDK, which I think is an OEM manufacturer. AT&T was just breached on Snowflake, which is a big cloud. Also, Ascension is another hospital group. Actually, my college roommate is a doctor and he works at Ascension. He was telling me about it like 3 months ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't even see my schedule. I can't even do a script. Everything's manual. We're not even getting paid, and I think it's still not settled." So I
It's
think
horrible.
that
There are like
is it. It's
surgeries
like
that are being delayed because of this. It's actually it's inexcusable. It's horrible.
it's a real thing that's going on, and I think that so when Google looks at its space and specifically the ability to strengthen their cloud security, this company called Wiz, I think it's an Israeli company. They've only been in business for less than 5 years, I believe. I'll have to check it, but they are. I think their current valuation is 12 billion, but their revenue by 2025 is um, is substantial. So I think what they're looking for is Google is to get a little bit stronger, specifically against their competition, AWS and Azure, and this really heightens them. So Wiz has a agentless cloud security platform that is actually quickly identifies and prioritizes these security risks. But there's so many companies that have had problems. So I think this is a good move if it can get past you know the issue with the SEC and able to buy the company because of the issues with that. But I can't find what's the word I'm looking for. Uh, they can't you can't buy a company that you too closely.
Oh, the
Uh,
antitrust?
yeah, thank you. Sorry, everyone. So Mel and I are both lacking a little sleep lately. So here we are, trying to dig through this, but we hope that we're bringing great information. But a lot of these, you don't realize this, but these security breaches affect an enormous amount of people. I just talked about my friend who's a doctor, but this AT&T breach, I think it hit like 73 million customers, and social security numbers were breached. Rite-Aid was also had a ransomware attack. This Ascension one I was talking about, I think it's been going on for since May, and about 140 hospitals, 19 states. Ticketmaster was also breached. I'm not sure we all feel like that's a big deal because they take advantage of us with those exorbitant, those
Right, of
costs
course.
that they make us
You
pay
know,
when we want
it's
to go to
one
a
thing, like,
concert.
it's one thing to breach them, but then it's actually their customers' data that gets exposed, but
Yes.
yeah, I see your
Um,
point. I
Disney
think
was
another part of this
affected,
is
MGM. Go ahead. Sorry.
you mentioned, Wiz's valuation, which it went from, I was trying to look it up and I can't find it quickly, but it they raised $1 billion, I think it was, like, in May, and so their valuation just skyrocketed, like, it's insane. Um, but I believe so this all kinda came about, like, just recently, and Google was looking to acquire HubSpot and sort of dropped that recently, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden it was like, drop HubSpot, acquire Wiz, totally different business, but this is sort of, the new hot chick.
Well said. But there's so many data protection issues, and one of them is having old data. Like probably AT&T had at Snowflake. So they had long-term exposure. But another one I want to point out is all these supply chain security issues. You have all these different systems that you have, and the security is probably not tight between them all. And so the importance of higher security is needed. All these different layers that you need as far as the network, the application, doing audits and uh, the employee training I think might be a big one because I think the Rite-Aid one, someone faked it as being an employee, um, and they actually got the credentials, and then it took them 12 hours to figure it out. So these things are really the people who are the hackers are going way out of their way because they know how to do it. They don't do it like overnight. They wait and they wait. It's like someone's going to rob your home until they know when to go in because they've stalked you and they understand the weakness point. So the vulnerability issues are immense, and I think that Google, long story short, but just point out all these other things. Google is trying to get ahead of the curve because they're seeing what we're seeing. Because I don't think this is going away anytime soon.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, when you think, like, look back a couple of months ago when Microsoft had a big breach, it was like an internal account that was like a test account that just didn't have 2FA on it. It was just kind of left sitting open, and it had so much of, like, the executive communications in it. I mean, it's just insane. It's just something like a really simple thing that was overlooked. And then I think I think I've told you about this before. I just find it, like, it's almost comical about, like, a breach that happened through somebody's electric toothbrush. Like, because somebody had an app that programmed his or her electric toothbrush from home, but then got into the phone, which has the passwords to get into the
Wow.
company computer. I mean, think of all the different threat surfaces that we have now. You don't think about your toothbrush, I mean, there's all the different things. And, like, I was at the HP event at the end of last year, and they talk about printer security. And a lot of times you don't think about that. You don't think about the things you send to a printer and how that data needs to be secure. There's so
Yeah,
many ways.
the easier it is to get to something like technology to use it, it's probably easier to hack. And anytime we put these extra devices or software in our lives, anywhere, business or personal, I think that the security has to be looked at. And we always say it will be okay, it'll be okay. But I mean, our stuff is being, touted on the dark web, and you have friends and people that have been exposed, and I think it's a major deal, and these hackers are getting paid. I mean, meaning the ransomwares are getting paid because they don't have a choice. So I
Yeah,
think it's resiliency is the magic
yeah,
component now. How do you regroup
yeah.
quickly?
I mean, I think, like, just basic kind of, like, hygiene, like, identification stuff, like Okta, like, just use it. It's like, just
Yep.
there's just no reason why you shouldn't have to authenticate who you are before you use anything. And if people are like burdened by that, too bad. Just do it.
That's really, really well said, because I think that's really what has to happen, and change your passwords, and companies have to get a multi-tiered approach to security and get the best software you can get, because that still might not be enough.
100%. Well, with that advice, we will end this. I guess maybe talk about I would say, what do I have coming up? But I would have to look at my calendar for that because I mean, the beauty is there's not a whole lot of travel right now.
Yep.
Summertime just ends up being that way with analyst events. So just a lot of writing and research and things like that. And do you have anything big you want to talk about?
No, I think it's the same as you. It's a chance for us to really do a lot of good research. So there's a lot going on, like I mentioned, with the modern ERP systems. So I have a bunch of articles coming out on that, and some on the supply chain. And we have some technology stuff coming up with sports that we're hopefully going to be involved in, which has to do with Qualcomm Stadium, or Snapdragon Stadium, with Qualcomm and Manchester United, and more to come on that. But just as a recap, I know that I had some wind that you were at Wimbledon. Do you have any final thoughts on how great that was? Because we should always talk about how amazing of an opportunity that was for you, just
You
as
know what?
to tell the audience what you like most about it.
It was so great, and I saw something that was so cool, and we'll talk about this on Game Time Tech, and I'll give a little teaser of Game Time Tech 2. Game Time Tech 2. For tomorrow, we will have Will Townsend on tomorrow, because we're going to talk about how Cisco is powering some of the networking for the Paris Olympics.
Mhm.
Little teaser on that. But for Wimbledon, so I was at Wimbledon and I got to go under and see all of the place where IBM enters all the data to power the Wimbledon app, so that we get to see all the scores, the the information about the players, everything in real time, plus all the historical data. I didn't know at the time that one of the players who was actually playing at Wimbledon was a former IBM stats guy.
Oh
I
my God!
found this out afterwards, and he won the men's doubles match.
Wow,
This guy used to sit in that room entering data for IBM and then won Wimbledon. How cool is that?
very cool. I
I
mean, just to be able to play, or even just to be on a court in some capacity. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of the most amazing sports places ever. Obviously, he's really good.
Yeah,
So,
I just think that's such a cool story. Like, he must love the game so much to have, like, gotten that job, sat in that room. I mean, it's an amazing, if you could see the room, it's like this, just screens everywhere and people entering all of the data, and you see all the play, and it's so exciting. It's like just this center of energy. So he was in
wow.
there for years, and then he was out there on the court while other people were in there entering his data. I just think that's so cool.
How far did
Anyway,
he get? Do you know? Did he
he
get
won. He won the doubles.
the they won the doubles, men's doubles, the
Yes.
full, thing. Wow, that's
Yes.
okay. He's
So very
probably
cool.
pretty good, so good
Yeah.
for him.
I just thought that was so cool. Anyway,
Good story.
we'll end with that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button. Hit us up on Twitter if there's anything you want to give us feedback on. If you wanted us to talk about on a episode to come, or anything else, we'd love to chat with you. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.